Hello and welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast match preview for Aston Villa's game against Ipswich on Saturday afternoon. Our first 3 o'clock kickoff since Leicester, I think it is. That's at the start of the year.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like 4 months ago, but
No, I think it was. I think the last couple were Leicester and Southampton. So teams that Villa are expected to be at the bottom of the league. They're not flashy fixtures, are they, for TV? A lot of games not played at 3 o'clock over the last couple of months. This is one of them, an ordinary 3 o'clock at home. One of 4 home games in a row for Villa. So another opportunity to build a bit of momentum, and hopefully. Just notch another win and get the job done, which is part of tonight's title, getting the job done. We'll get to that later. I'm joined by John Townley, by the way, I should say. How's things, John?
Yeah, fine, thank you. It's like a really busy period, but having the home games, you don't have to think of like travelling around the country and then what you're going to do the day after, and then for another away game to follow. So, yeah, I'm glad there's lots of matches. We'll get on to that a bit later about the packed fixture schedule. But I like to have lots of home games. It makes our life a lot easier. I mean, certainly when you're doing the away games too. So, doing well, thanks, Dan. Happy Valentine's Day as well, of course.
Yeah, thanks. I was going to say thank you for spending it with me. We're doing this a little bit earlier.
We're not, by the way. Just to clarify, the rumours aren't true.
We're doing it a little bit earlier than usual. Is that for a hot Valentine's date tonight? Again, not with me, with your partner. You going out?
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
nice.
Then I'll be doing.
Can I come?
No. Yeah, I've managed to escape my laptop, or been pressured to escape from my laptop, shall I say? Yeah, so games tomorrow. So I do have quite a lot of things to do between now and then. But
yeah, a lot of things to do because you've been at the presser this afternoon, Unai Emery's pre-Ipswich press conference. A few little standout lines, some injury stuff, which we'll get to in a little bit, some fixture congestion stuff, which we'll get to after that. But the general vibe, the comment that stood out for me was I'm paraphrasing here, but the squad is in a better place than it was before the transfer window. There's a better balance to it, I think was a word that Unai used. I agree with him. I think we are in a better place now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said, he was asked about that. He was asked literally the question, are you stronger? Have you got more balance? And he just said, yes. And then carried on his answer, which is on Birmingham Live if you want to read the rest of it. Which, I mean, is it in a better place? Yeah, I think probably is. But it's just, I don't know, because we have 3 loanees, it doesn't feel very permanent. However, of course, Asensio could join permanently or on another loan, and Rashford for 40 million. We'll see what happens in defence. But yeah, while it doesn't feel permanent, it could be. So it's all kind of a bit up in the air. But in terms of what we have from now until the end of the season, Emery said he literally said like throughout the next 3.5 months, like he didn't go for 5 years or 2 years or whatever. He just said 3.5 months. This is what we've got, and it's basically kind of up to the players a little bit to prove that we had a good window. Like it looks good on paper, and he's happy with his squad. He's happy, as you say, with the balance of it. He thinks it's stronger than when we started January, but now it is up to the players to find the confidence, be excited, like Unai said, about the challenges that we have. He said that it's a high challenge. That they have with us and that we have with them. I think it's basically trying to say like we have, FA Cup, Champions League, Premier League, but the players themselves, they're also, they're working with us to reach those ambitions, but also there's a reason why they're at Villa, without being disrespectful to the club. Rashford was, of course, Man United's best player for a period of time. Asensio was in the Real Madrid team for a decade. If they had continued in their ascent, they wouldn't be playing for a team who are knocking on the door at the moment of Europa League. So, there's obviously reasons why they've come here, though, but not other clubs. Disasi was, insisting on joining Villa. Rashford knows that this is the best place for him to play football. So it wasn't a point of like, this is kind of the second best. We're better than Man United. I think we probably beat PSG over 2 legs in the Champions League. That's kind of one of his messages today was, he thinks we're in a stronger place than when we started January.
I don't have them in front of me, but we're going to pivot to the opposition manager's press conference now. Hopefully you've seen these, otherwise I'm going to have to do some very quick Googling. And I've only remembered this because it's in the title that I set up earlier. McKenna on Rashford. I assume that you've written around these lines anyway.
Yeah.
Is there anything there from an opposition perspective that Kieran McKenna knows Rashford? Can he kind of exploit that in any way?
Yeah, I'm sure he does know plenty. Well, he definitely knows plenty about Rashford. But of course, it's up to would it be Tuanzebe, actually? No, he chopped his finger off, didn't he, or something like that when he
Did he?
did you see that? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Tuanzebe. I don't know where I'm going with that. I think it was. He had like a free.
I need to Google that now instead.
Yeah, just to clarify, it was Tuanzebe for me. Who is their right back? I'm not too sure myself. It's, not great for a podcast, but it's up to the Ipswich players to stop Rashford, and I don't think they would be able to do that if Rashford was, ready and raring to go, which I'm sure he will be. Whether he'll start or not, we'll get onto that later. But yeah, McKenna will come with a plan. They beat Spurs away. They obviously have Delap, who's a handful, caused us problems, caused Carlos problems, I should say, at Portman Road. So it's good, kind of leaning into the injury news, that we have 2 centre-backs that are fit.
We'll get onto that in a second.
Yeah, kind of like London buses a little bit, Both of them are back, or 2 of them are back, shall I say. One of them wasn't even injured, but we have 2 of them available. Anyway, Delap will be a threat. And of course, something that I think some people may have forgotten, Philogene is also back. So something that scares me a little bit, and I know we didn't show it too much at Villa, but I really do like Philogene. I think he's an excellent player. Not for a Champions League team right now, but for a team like Ipswich, I think he can really cause problems to the opposition when he's playing for them. Whether he keeps them up or not, I don't know. But yeah, I think he's definitely got a lot of potential and ability. Hopefully he doesn't show that at Villa Park, but I'm sure he will be determined to.
Yeah, it'll be a big game for him to try and prove, basically, you were wrong to let me go, almost, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just Googling about Axel Tuanzebe, which is obviously a blast from the past. Expected to be out for at least a month. This was back in October, so I assume.
Okay, fair enough then.
But he sustained a deep cut to his thumb while washing the dishes. I mean, that's very like Football Manager, isn't it? You see some random.
What was he washing it with?
Exactly. Yeah, no. He must have been washing a knife. No, not to get like too specific about it.
Maybe when I don't do this, but when you wash up like lots of different things in the bowl, maybe he's just got his hands in there and he's.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was imagining. Another way for it to happen. If he was washing up with his hand, of course that's what's happened. There's a man who's hardly ever washed up in his life. That sounds like
no, that's not true. I'm quite specific, and people don't care with this, but I do like one item each.
Right.
I don't like the thought of having dirty dishes in the water. It's like having a bath. Why would you go in there when you're dirty?
Something in one at a time. You don't just load up the sink with everything.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I don't like a sink full of crap and rubbish and like, no. Individual like items, it's clean then.
That's fair enough, I suppose.
Move on quickly. We're losing viewers rapidly.
If any of the 200 people joining this on Valentine's Day we're expecting to find out about John Townley's washing up technique, shouldn't be surprised, really. Welcome to the podcast. Right, to Villa's injuries then, back to the real stuff. No one really cares about Ipswich Town, do they? Famous last words. Injury update, as you said, 2 centre-backs back, 1 injured, 1 not injured. Disasi obviously was unavailable last week as he's cup-tied, won't be available after Liverpool either because he can't play against Chelsea. Disasi is available, and Tyrone Mings, people spotted him in the background of training pictures over the last week or so. He's also back in the squad as well. We'll get to the absentees in a second. Good to have both of those in the squad, and a boost for Villa, obviously, at the other end with Ollie Watkins back available as well, who, again, whether they start or not is another talking point in a little bit. But to have those options back, whether they start or otherwise, is now now they're only out for a little bit, but we're kind of so desperate just to get anyone back. You can't kind of dress it up as anything other than just great news.
Yeah, precisely. And I also think, and this is something that I'm sure everyone else is thinking too, but it just boosts Kamara up the pitch as well into midfield. I think that's absolutely vital in terms of how we play. So hopefully Mings is able to start. As you said, Danny, he's been in training since back end of last week. Wasn't ready to play against Spurs. And I don't know how much kind of load he had, to be honest, up until now. Emery said him and Watkins trained this morning, as in Friday morning. But yeah, whether they can play a full game, we'll wait and see. I don't think it's something that Emery will take a risk with, to be perfectly honest, even though we are light, because as I mentioned earlier, 5 games in 13 days is just ridiculous. So, and then of course, Champions League doubleheader, and coming either side of the Brentford game. So there's loads of games coming up. I don't think it's worth risking players at this point, even if we're light on centre backs. You don't want to lose them for even longer. Or say even longer. You could lose a player for 2 weeks now, and they'd be done for 5 games or whatever. It's mental. So yeah, it's really important that they come back when they're ready to come back. Hopefully that is playing from the off on Saturday. Certainly in Mings' case, I think it's more important that he plays than Watkins, even though Watkins is obviously clearly an important player of the team, but we have a lot going forward. But yeah, those two are back. Konsa, Powell, Barkley, Amadou Onana and Matty Cash. I think that's the 5. They're out at the moment. I have a little bit on that later as well. But for now, just those 2 back for Ipswich.
Yeah, not a lot we can talk about at the moment, but having Disasi, Mings and Watkins available for this fixture is absolutely a boost. We'll get to team news in a little bit. Let's talk about it because we've kind of mentioned
I thought that was the team news. What segment was that?
No, but that's just injuries. They're back into contention. We're not going to pick an 11 just yet.
Okay.
I'd call that team news as well. Team selection, I guess. Yeah. We'll do away from match day, the part where we get to talk about something not related to the upcoming fixture, but it's all the other ones around it. It's the fixture congestion. Emery spoke about this a little bit. Do you want to talk through that first while I get the fixtures in front of me and the dates and stuff? Just so, everyone will be aware, but it's a lot of football to be played over the next couple of weeks.
This is something. Well, John Percy from the Telegraph reported earlier today. I think that Villa had
it's been a long day.
The Villa had previously requested to have that Liverpool game pushed back or not being played next week, essentially. Rejected by the Premier League. And obviously Emery is part of that decision process in terms of not wanting that game to be played next week, and we can all understand why. So yeah, he basically said it's not fair in the press conference. Like, he's very, I like his kind of persona with these things, because it's very much a case of like, well, it is what it is. We'll crack on, and we're not going to make an excuse about it if we don't, if we pick up an injury. Oh, how do I say it? Clearly, an injury in this period will be because of the busy games, if it's a muscle injury especially. But equally, it will then be, well, next man up sort of thing. Like, you just got to get on with it. Like, it is what it is. But that won't change that Villa are clearly angry and frustrated at the Premier League. Just mainly because why now? Like, I don't recall many games being brought this far forward. Maybe brought forward a few days. Like Cardiff, for example, their game against Hull, which was a Wednesday. That's now a Tuesday, literally the day before, to fit in that Villa game on the Friday. Why Villa have to play on the Friday in the first place is, like, why isn't that the Saturday game at 3 o'clock?
Champions League, isn't it? Because we play on the following Tuesday in the Champions League.
but we could play on a Saturday, couldn't we? And still have that time. Like Wolves versus Bournemouth, which is the Saturday 3 o'clock in the FA Cup. Neither of those teams are in Europe, obviously. Put that Friday night and then put Villa Cardiff. It's hardly as a neutral. What would you rather watch? 2 Premier League teams or Villa Cardiff? I don't know. I mean,
we have got the extra recovery time for the Champions League. Like, we talk a lot about other European clubs getting extra time off and all that kind of stuff. If we play on the Friday rather than the Saturday, we've got bits of it. I mean, it's like 12 hours or something, but a bit of extra recovery time to play on that Tuesday night. It's one of them, isn't it? There's a lot of games to be played, and only so many days. It's only so many days to play them in. Like,
I think the frustration is that why bring the Liverpool game forward though? Why not wait and push it back into April? We play one league game in March. Like,
we only spoke about this recently, that we didn't really mind that it was being played now. It's like, let's just kind of get it done, and they're quite excited by the opportunity just to play it rather than be a game behind for weeks and weeks on end.
No, don't get me wrong. Like, I agreed with that as well. I'd rather have it as a night game or whatever. But equally, if I had the chance, I'd rather save it for an April when we probably won't. Who knows? Maybe we get knocked out at the Champions League in the 16 or quarter final. There's about 6 or 7 games at the end of the season where it's just no midweek game, and like last season, Spurs against Man City. I'm not sure when that game was supposed to be played, but I'm pretty sure it was essentially held for a long time. And then it was the midweek, and then we got the Champions League, I don't know, Tuesday night or whatever it was, Tuesday night, because it was the game after the Monday. I think that's the kind of frustration of like, well, it's been done previously. Why have you brought it back now when this is a busy period? You're making it more busier. Maybe Villa are going to be busy later on in the season. Maybe they won't be. So why throw it? So maybe
that's the problem. Because they can't tell for certain yet that we're still in the FA Cup, we're still in the Champions League. If we'd have just got knocked out in the playoffs and we got knocked out against Spurs, maybe Liverpool would have been held for till the back end of the season. But because what if Villa get to an FA Cup semi-final or even the final, and that's played before the end of the season? Then where do you drop Liverpool in? It's almost like you've got to get it done now, just in case Villa are still busy at the end of the season, or Liverpool as well.
I get it, and there's going to be arguments for and against, but what kind of trying to stay on the positive side of it, I do agree with you in terms of the home games in a row, confidence for new players, game after game, under lights against Chelsea because it's the winter, and Liverpool, and probably Ipswich for a part of the game as well. And then, you obviously have a bit longer for the rest for the away Champions League leg, then Brentford, then Champions League. Then you're off for a long period of time, and then it kicks off again in April. So, it's just a shame because it's not one that we can just be like, run yourselves into the ground, and then you have the whole of March, not the whole of March, but a lot of March off. We might lose 4 players to injury in the space of 2 games because we're just being played. We have 9 rest days in 13.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
But
is that right? Hold on. Yeah. Because I don't know what I'm saying now, but we have 9 rest days in the period of 5 games.
Yeah,
which is obviously not a lot. So yeah.
Whereas if you were playing weekend to weekend, you'd have 6 rest days between matches. Whereas we've got 9 rest days in total between 5 matches.
5, yeah, which is
it's obviously a lot. There's no time, and the fact that a couple of those are at home does at least solve some kind of like travel issues and getting back late at 2 a.m. to Bodymore Heath and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's a minor kind of clutching at straws thing here to say that at least we're at home. It could be worse.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that we'll only really know the toll of whether this was a bad decision by the Premier League after it's happened. If we get through these games, if we've won a lot of them and we've got no injuries, we'll just go, fair enough, onwards we go. Let's keep pushing. Yeah. If we lose games, which if we weren't knackered, we might win, or we get a few injuries that are kind of like you say, muscle related or feel avoidable, it'll be a bad thing that the Premier League have done it. We don't know for certain yet. It's a kind of wait and see. I'm more of the nature of like, I don't know.
You don't care.
What are we supposed to do? Like, we want to still be in the FA Cup. We want to be in the Champions League. We want to play more games. Like, I know they're coming thick and fast, but Liverpool are playing a similar schedule. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and don't get me wrong, Villa feel that in terms of like, okay, well, we're just gonna have to accept it and crack on and win those games and give it all. No kind of issues of being like, this is just against us. It's more of a, well, it could have been, you could have helped us or tried to help us, but instead you've just said no. Carry on sort of thing, even though you're seeing Tottenham with 10 fit players, Bournemouth with 10 fit players. Like, clearly this is just too much. The players are all getting injured. We've had bad injuries, but we have 2 centre-backs. Some clubs don't have centre-backs, which is it's a mental situation. You'd have thought that Villa have it worse than anyone in terms of like 7 players injured at a time. We can't get this player back, can't get him back. We missed a striker and a centre-back. We played against Spurs without no defenders. Neither did they. Like that, how is that possible? How is anyone worse than us? That's how it feels to me. But the only other thing just to kind of finish that up would be Cardiff. And again, not to take them lightly, but I'd like to think that he would have made changes for that game anyway. And it's not as if after 4 games, you've then got Liverpool at home and you've got to get back up for it again after playing Palace away, which is going to be really difficult. It's kind of like Palace away. That's almost your sort of starting 11s, kind of like final game in like a really busy run. And then you can bring in 1 or 2. If injuries permitting, you can swap this player, that player, make about 4 or 5, 6 changes if needed, without the end result being you're knocked out of the cup, because we can now change Rashford for Ramsey, Rodgers for Asensio, Bailey for Marlon. That's incredible depth. Obviously, the defence is a bit patchy, but throughout the team, there is enough.
The further that goes, Pau Torres might be back in 3 weeks' time, let's say, as a total guess, by the way, and that's enough to go. It's difficult, but these players are coming back.
Last thing I heard on Torres and Cash, we knew anyway that it was before the Champions League games. So by the start of March, you'd hope that they're both fine, which is, we're closing in on that now. So it won't be far between them coming back, but it's just what happens, as I say, between that. Who did we then lose? We're going to get more injuries. It's going to happen, but it's one of those, crack on with it. And hopefully after Palace, we can be like, okay, we're knackered. We've had a great run. And we've got big points at home, beat Palace or whatever. And now we've got one final game, make a couple of changes if needed. 8 o'clock Friday night, FA Cup quarter-final is the objective. and then you got a few days off before that Champions League. So yeah, that's kind of the way to look at it and break it down.
Yeah, I think we've spoken before, haven't we, about kind of tackling the season in little chunks almost, or little groups of games. And we're now like at the second half of the season, and the end looks difficult on paper with the fixtures. But if you can still be in with a chance, you can attack it. Let's just get through these next 13 or 14 days first. Let's get to March and see where we are. Because if we can pick up some results now, given everything, the extra context around injuries and the amount of games played in as many days, you almost feel like let's just get through this period. And if you can, let's see where we are after that, and then attack the third part of the season, or however you want to break it down. Let's do a couple of comments as we get into predicted 11. If I can find the right button, there it is. 2 comments. What from Tom, who capitals just put Watkins and Mings back. Get in. Yes, they are both back. And Fred Blog says, "Do you think that Unai will switch to a new forward line tomorrow?"
What's the IP for? I'm lost.
Ipswich. We're playing Ipswich.
But okay. Sorry, Tom. I didn't find out funny at all. I don't think it was a real question. Sorry, Tom. I didn't find it funny.
Let's pick an 11 then. Obviously, Martinez will play. I think Garcia plays right back. Dean plays left back. Conveniently left out the centre halves. We'll get to those in a second. Tielemans and McGinn, I think, would be central midfield options. Left side, Ramsey, Rodgers in the middle, and Marlon on the right. How am I going to go for that? Okay. I think I'm not convinced that Mings or Watkins will start. This is not kind of like, oh, I've been told this. Not that whatsoever. I just would wonder whether can we get through Ipswich at home without those and bring them back in better rested for Liverpool or Chelsea even, particularly Mings. I know we're very light at centre-back, but if you throw him in against Ipswich and he gets injured again, which is obviously a massive hypothetical, you could bring him back in against Chelsea when he's rested for another 10 days and he could get injured then. That's football, isn't it? But do we want to risk that when we're already light? I don't know. Watkins is an easier one to kind of manage because we have so many forward options. If he didn't play, Marlon plays up front and Bailey or Asensio or Rashford or whoever play on the right hand side, and it's probably wouldn't even notice he wasn't there, kind of thing. I just don't know if you risk both of them just in case, just because there's a lot to get through.
Yeah,
surely we can beat Ipswich at home without Tyrone Mings. No,
I don't know. I
just
think I said this last season. Yeah, I said this last season. It's at this point in the season where those clubs at the bottom, they start to just get freak results and results you never expect. Genuinely, like this is the point of the campaign where you've really got to put these teams away and not underestimate them, because they will win at places you don't know. Like when we stayed up, what was it later on in the season, but we won at Spurs 1-0 with a Benteke header, and it was just like out of the blue. Things happen. That's just one example, by the way. There's lots, other results happen. Put it this way: if Mings is able to start him for me. I think it's imperative that we essentially stop the lap. If you stop the lap, I think we win the game, because I think we can score 2, maybe 3. Can
Disasi and Kamara not handle in between them?
I don't know.
Disasi will play.
I'm not sure. I really.
Disasi will play, won't
it? Yeah. He's got to play. Possibly, yeah. He plays Kamara with Disasi, kind of the French link up. I don't know if that means anything, because probably not. And if that's enough to stop them, then fine. But I just personally wouldn't take the risk, unless, of course, it's a risk playing Mings in terms of injury. If he's ready to go, I'd play him, and that's that.
If he's 100%,
like not to be a kind of it's a bit of a cop out, really. But it depends on Mings. If he doesn't play, then Kamara drop in, and then midfield of McGinn and Tielemans. If not, and Kamara plays in centre midfield alongside Tielemans, maybe you see McGinn play on the right, and then Rodgers and Ramsey, and then Watkins up front. But kind of not to be Bailey's biggest fan again, but I think he played pretty well against who did beat Tottenham. Sorry, I think he probably played his best half of football for a long time against Spurs. So again, difficult to drop him. But we got so many games. I wouldn't be surprised, and Emery rarely does this in terms of picking a team with a view of the other games as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is, and thinking, well, I'd rather play Bailey against this team and I play Asensio in a 10 against Liverpool, which means Rodgers may have to, that sort of thing. Like, I wouldn't be totally shocked if Tielemans come out of the 11 and then he had McGinn and Kamara or something like that. Again, permitting that Mings is available to play, because Tielemans has played loads of games. Rodgers has played lots of games.
Yeah.
Just something on Rodgers, by the way. There's every chance he gets a 2-match ban soon. So,
when's the cut off for that? Is there not one now?
It's 32 games.
Okay.
He's on 8 yellow cards, so he's 2 away from a 2-game ban, which is, something we've got to think about as well. I mean,
8 games. Do you remember the discussions last year? Of,
Louise,
Louise, it's like, when should he try and get a yellow card? Just miss Bournemouth or whoever it was. It's
and like, he was about a minute away, if you remember. Yeah. What game was that? He got booked.
Can't remember.
I always like to remember these things. It was he missed Arsenal and West Ham, but to be honest, I always think it's a bit of a myth when you miss these players, because whenever someone else gets a red, like Joel Gomez, for example, for Wolves, gets a red card, they're without a couple of other players, the striker, the bit is 2-0. I always find it where there's a ban or something that goes for us, or even against us. It never always makes that much of a difference unless it's like your goalkeeper, like Martinez or something. And even then, Martinez missed Brighton last season, and Olsen played a blinder. So I think it's always like bigger than what it feels.
It's an easy thing to complain about. Yeah, exactly that. We've got, if Rodgers missed 2 games and Asensio starts both in the 10 behind Ollie Watkins in a Premier League team fighting for Europe, I mean, come on, it's not bad. Is it?
It's not the end of the world at all. But there is that.
Rodgers a bit of rest as well. Just get them both tomorrow, mate.
That's why I was going to say maybe we have to rest Rodgers at some point, but he may get that rest. But then again, it's just like 8. Is it 8 games he has left?
We're on 24 now.
The threshold. He'll be aware of that himself. So I'm not kind of too scared. But where he's got 8 bookings from, no idea. Don't remember making a foul.
Has he had a couple for dissent potentially?
I'm sure. He's
a bit talkative, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 50%. He obviously made fouls. I joke when I say that, but it just surprised me. 8 is a lot for him.
So a lot of what we've talked about with the side rests on whether Tyrone Mings is fit. Does that push Kamara into midfield? Does that push McGinn onto the right, etc.? I think if McGinn did play on the right, you could then potentially play Marlon up front rather than Watkins. You could play Watkins up front and Marlon on the right, McGinn back in midfield, and Kamara at centre back. If Mings isn't fit, could you try Bogard potentially? I know we kind of poo-pooed the idea a little bit a few weeks ago. When he has come in, he's done well. Because again, he's not as good a centre back, even potentially as Kamara is, but it gets Kamara back into the middle. So would that potentially be an option in a game like this that might be easier?
For me, Bogard, and Emery said this himself, it's not really a centre back to play on the left. He's a right-sided centre back. He's a right-sided player. And if that's the case, Disasi would have to go to the left when he's like Konsa as well, a right-sided player. I think it worked having Bogard on next to Kamara. Well, it did work. He played well. But again, it's on the right side. So, for me, I think Kamara would be more likely to keep his place at centre-back than see Bogard start at right centre-back and Disasi move to left. But again, he's got options. I mean, not many of them, and none of them are really ideal, to be honest. But he's got a couple of solutions to have. It's just this game, if Ipswich are going to deny Villa a win or win themselves, it's very obvious to me how it's going to happen, and that's Delap causing us problems because again, maybe another reason why Mings shouldn't play or should play, because he's going to be, this is going to be a really physically demanding game, trying to keep Delap quiet, and is Mings up to it? Hopefully he is, but if he's not, then I don't know. There's lots to think about, but only Emery will know kind of where his squad are at basically, and what's going to come in the next few games as well.
I'm pretty sure Disasi is right-footed, but I can't find anything to back that up. Is it?
He's played it right back, so I'm pretty certain he is.
Weirdly,
I know he is.
The Premier League or the Chelsea website or anything lists what foot he is, which probably isn't quite as common a thing as it used to be. But I'm pretty sure he's right-footed. I just wondered what's the point risking him. I'm just hoping that our attacking threat can be enough to get us through this game, and we've got a great record at home still, which doesn't always say it doesn't really feel. But
you need to win, don't you?
You've got to win. You've got to win. But if we go and score 3, I don't see Ipswich scoring 3. I know it's not as simple as that, but if we just go and try and kill the game.
Yeah, we've rarely been in a position where we are comfortable on 60 minutes at home.
No, I know.
Maybe we go 2 goals up, but then we always concede. In an ideal world, you play your best team, Watkins, Mings, 60 minutes, you're 3-0 up, and then you can bring them off. Job done, rested. I think the worst case scenario, well, would be obviously not winning, but you don't want to be in a position where Watkins is on the bench, Mings has been on the bench, you're drawing 2-2, and you're struggling to even gain control of this game. In a match you have to win. If you don't win it, you've then got Liverpool, the league leaders, and then of course Chelsea is a game that we can win, but we're gonna have to be our best to win it still. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting period. Emery said in his press conference today that it's like a key something, but he meant key period of matches when he went on to kind of not complain, but talk about how it's unfair that we'll have to play so many matches. But equally, he's aware that this is like vital. If we don't pick up the points that we need in the next few, we'll be cut adrift then to top 5, maybe even top 6 Europa League kind of positions. Whereas if we win them, we're right amongst the conversation. So
yeah. Very different conversation than it would have been 10 years ago, but we just have to get to 40 points. I don't care how we do it tomorrow. We're on 37 at the moment. Bournemouth ahead of us in 7th. They're already on 40. Newcastle and City.
You made that sound as if we were in a relegation fight.
That's what I mean. Years ago, it would have been, wouldn't it? 40 points is to stay up, and now it's just like to keep hold of the coattails of the top 6. Yeah. Newcastle and Man City both have 41. Chelsea have 43. Behind us, Fulham have 36 and Brighton have 34. So it's as much as kind of trying to build a bit of a gap behind us as well.
And Forest play Fulham at home against Forest. So that's like a chance for us to gain points there. I'm just going to quickly check
Newcastle as well this week.
City, another chance for us to gain points at least one, if not both. Tottenham Man United does not matter at all.
Brighton Chelsea.
Chelsea. Jeez, it is as well. Goodness me. I was about to say if you're watching that, what you're doing on Valentine's Day, but
if you're watching this,
maybe I'll put it on. That game was played the other day as well, so that's a bit of a rubbish TV. To be fair, it's probably a good game. I think Brighton could get to in there, which would help us. So again, a chance, as you say, to gain points. So it's a really important weekend for us. If we can get the win, fantastic. If we can do something against Liverpool as well, obviously that's the game, technically a game more than all the other teams then for a bit, but an extra point, maybe 3.
Yeah, it's just about winning. I don't really care how it comes. If we're doing the post-match show tomorrow, me and Kendrick, and we're saying, we've not quite played well, and Delap's had the better of Kamara or whatever, but we've come away and we've won, fine. We're now in that period of, we've said this a few times, you've just got to keep notching up wins, and as the title says, it's just about getting the job done. We've got 5 games in 14 days, just win them. I don't care how they're done, they're difficult games, but you've got to just find something within you to basically outshine quality of the opposition. Like, we are a better football side than Ipswich. Like, it's not controversial to say that. You've just got to go out and prove it. We're at home. We've been good at home. Go and score a couple of goals and kill the game, and it's job done and on to the next one.
Yeah, 3 points and no injuries. That would be in any 12-11, 2-1, whatever it is. A win and 3 injuries. A win and no injuries. 3 points, no injuries.
I'll take 3 injuries if we're actually end up going to get 6 or something instead. I'll take 3 then.
You take 3 injuries if what?
If we were actually ended up getting 6 or 7, I'd take 3 in that instance.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I've confused myself on the comments I'm making today.
All right, let's end this show with the score prediction then. I'll give you a chance to do some writing on your phone if you've got it to hand. Not great. The last game that we tracked, the Premier League game against Wolves, we both predicted Villa to win 2-1 and 3-1. And obviously we lost, so no points again there. Really slim pickings in the prediction league throughout this season. So more and more as the weeks go by, this segment is pretty useless because our predictions are dreadful.
Stop talking about it.
I only have to talk about it every time to give us enough time to write it down. Yeah. So I've done my waffling. I'm going to have a drink and we'll reveal them on 3.
All right. 3,
2, 1. Oh, 4-1 I've gone with. John's gone with 3-2. We're going to concede 2 at home to Ipswich.
So I cracked my phone a little bit there. It's got a screen case on it though. So what was that? Sorry.
I said, are we going to concede 2 to Ipswich at home?
Yeah, you could do. I've predicted it. I think we could. Yeah.
I don't know.
We definitely can. We've seen the luck can cause us problems, can cause any team problems. The only thing I would say is that they are in a pretty. I mean, they beat Coventry 4-1 away last weekend in the FA Cup, so kind of breaks the run a little bit for them. But before that, they'd lost 4 league games and conceded a off the top of my head, like was in and around 15 goals or something.
A couple of times, didn't they?
Yeah, but they did lose. Sorry, they did play City and Liverpool, so conceded 10 goals from those two. But then they also lost at home to Southampton. Terrible result. Yeah, I mean, really, our draw there at Portman Road was a bad result for us because they don't actually take too many points at home anyway. So most of their points come away from home. So yeah, that's something to think about. I did, they beat Chelsea at home, first home win of the season in December, then drew away against Fulham when they could have won that game, and then lost 4 in a row. So I thought they had turned a corner, and then all of a sudden, they went the other way, and now here they are coming to Villa Park. So we can't underestimate, and that's just my feeling about this game. I think it's potentially a very sticky one. So it's just so vital that we win it.
Yeah. Really, I want to see a fast start as well. We've had it against Celtic, we've had it against Spurs in 2 different competitions at home, scoring early. I feel like if we were to score early, obviously Ipswich could equalise pretty straight after and kill that advantage. But I'd like to think if we could score early, that'll be enough that Ipswich are they'll be happy with a point, wouldn't they, at Villa Park? So they're probably going to want to sit in and play on the counter, get the ball to Delap if he can do something great. Philogene can do something great for them, obviously. If we score early, they've got to come out a little bit, and that benefits us. And hopefully, we can then kill the game from that position, get a second, get a third, bring Watkins off. Whatever it is, that's the perfect way for this game to pan out. As we know, that doesn't always happen, or very rarely happens. And if Villa do go ahead with a couple of goals, as we saw with Celtic, you can get pinned back pretty quickly. So it's about taking that advantage and making the most of it. I just want 3 points. Don't care what happens. I just want to win and get to the magic 40 points to be safe for another season. That's all it's all about. Right, that'll do us, I think, for this episode. John, thank you very much for joining me as always on Valentine's evening. Much appreciated. You can go off now and have your swanky meal. Thanks to those that watched along in the comments live on YouTube. Appreciate you joining us as well. If you're watching this on catch up, you can scroll down to the comments and leave your thoughts on the episode below. Likewise on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you've been listening, thank you very much. Myself and Matt Kendrick will be here for the post-match show tomorrow evening, about 7 o'clock, I would suspect. So do join us then if you can. Thanks for watching or listening to this episode, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.